movies, so they gave us wristbands. But I have the wristband from Avengers Endgame.
Yeah, great show off there, Chris Kelly. Yeah, I didn't get a ticket stub because I was there. If you could turn my memories into a ticket stub. What? Who is this guy?
That's the most grizzled, happy man.
That's you in 3 years.
You can't turn my brain into a movie stub.
I got presidential agent on film sets. All right, what movies you got to recommend?
I wanted to recommend just a couple of films.
We should do Election, though.
Oh, yeah, let's do Election after we do
So I Married an Axe
Murder.
Murderer? Yeah, I love it.
I loved how you told me to do, you texted me and said, hey, what do you think about So I Married an Axe Murderer? It's like, I was literally going to ask you that same exact thing. That and like I thought about it the other day, the day before you said that. So it was like really kind of cool that you sent that to me.
Fate.
Like,
Fate.
Such a great movie.
Yeah.
So in the 90s, they were doing kind of, I say early to mid 90s, they were doing a lot of, they were bringing a lot of old horror movies and then trying to make them new again, reimagining them, which they're going to be doing now. Guillermo del Toro is going to reportedly, I think he's going to be doing Frankenstein or maybe The Invisible Man. But they're going to be redoing a lot of these movies in the next couple of years. But they already tried to do this in the early to mid 90s. Mary Riley, I would say, is probably the first one I would recommend if you liked this. If you liked Sleepy Hollow, Mary Riley, which was the movie which is based on Valerie Martin's book. Valerie Martin's book. It's a parallel novel about Mary Riley, who was Dr. Jekyll's housemaid. So it's kind of like a romantic horror film-esque kind of a little bit. John Malkovich plays Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. And it's taken from her perspective. I guess you would say it's sort of like Pride and Prejudice and Zombies.
Hey.
Sort of. It's kind of like an alternate version of if they actually made these movies or books. But I would recommend checking that out. You could rent it right now for $2.99 off of Amazon Prime.
Nice.
Another one would be Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, because right after Bram Stoker's Dracula came Mary Shelley's Frankenstein.
What a cast.
That was a dynamite cast. We have Robert De Niro as the monster. He studied people who had severe strokes in order to get the speech patterns down for his character of the monster. Did it work? Yes, no, maybe so. I don't know. It was an extremely violent film, especially for its time, because Bram Stoker's Dracula was very violent. So they decided to continue with that path.
But it made choices. It went for things. That's what I liked about it. Does that make sense?
No, absolutely. And they changed it a lot from because when you think of Frankenstein, you think of having the big square head with the weird hair. But they went for like a more realistic version, which I think is what it's written in the book. I had never read Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, but I believe she said it's like several faces that were sewn and stretched together, which is what they did for the Robert De Niro version.
You need a lot of lotion.
He has a lot of cocoa butter.
Give me a second. That bottle's almost empty. He's shaking it.
Ow, ow, ow.
And he just does one of these, wipes his hands together. Now back to
Frankenstein.
Now back to monologues by Frankenstein.
And not really on, I mean, it is kind of on the same lines as Sleepy Hollow, but it's kind of a Stephen King forgotten horror film, which was really good because we all remember Stephen King in the 80s and 90s had a slew of garbage. But there was one movie that stood, exactly. There's one movie that stood out, which is on Amazon Prime right now, called The Night Flyer, which was starring Miguel Ferrer, which if you know who that is, you look at a picture of him and you're like, oh, that guy. He was the guy that was in like literally every movie. Mm-hmm. He plays a reporter that's tracking down a serial killer who flies by a plane, which sounds kind of like a ridiculous concept, but it's really, really good. Turns out that this person is actually a vampire. That's not a spoiler. Trust me. But it is a forgotten Stephen King film, which is kind of on the same lines as Sleepy Hollow, where it's beautifully shot, very interesting, and it's really, really violent.
Night Flyer?
The Night Flyer.
Nice.
I strongly recommend
When
it.
you said trust me, I was going to be, I don't trust you.
Like, I trust you as far as I can beat your ass.
I'm going to see how far I can throw you. What would that do if I picked you up and threw you? And then the distance between us.
Would that make your trust like that much more?
So, but like, I trust you as far as I can throw you. So I can't throw you that far.
You trying to say who's stronger than at that point?
Yeah. But let's say I throw you, and it's a pretty good distance for the strength I am that throws you. So comparatively, I just threw you a pretty far distance.
You're a big dude. I'm a big dude too, but you're definitely like a little taller than me.
Yeah.
And you've actually trained like some martial arts. So you could probably, I think you could probably make me through the door.
So, I mean, yeah, it'd be 5-6 feet, right?
It's a hell of a throw.
I mean, so it's not
I'm like
far.
200 pounds.
Yeah,
so.
It's not far, but for what it is, I threw you pretty far.
So does that mean that you would trust me more or trust me less? It's like, I trust you as far as 6 feet. It's like, how?
I can't throw you as far as the Hulk, so I can't compare it to that.
Yeah, that would be kind of ridiculous. Anyways.
Yeah. So let's say the Hulk throws a guy, but it's not a good throw.
How far do you think that the Casper Van Dien could trust someone? Because if he can whip a pumpkin 30 yards.
I trust you as far as I can throw a pumpkin.
Whoa. That is some serious trust.
So, yeah, so that's a lot of trust because you're covering a lot of ground. I only threw that pumpkin 70 yards. That's not far. I don't trust you much. But you threw a pumpkin 70 yards. I made it up. This is my logic,
There's a hydraulic on my hand.
Yeah.
Completely impractical and doesn't really work. But
on the next podcast, we should really dive into this.
Next week's podcast is going to be pumpkin chunking.
The best pumpkins of cinema.
That's a podcast that we wanted to talk about.
Any other movies?
No, that's it.
Night Flyer sounds good. Who's in this?
Miguel Ferrer. He's the man that you don't recognize his name, but as soon as you see him, you're like, oh, that guy. He's literally in every movie from the 80s to the 90s. He was the guy that the best way to describe him would be
bald.
He was bald. Yeah, he was balding, but he was permanently like that. I think his first movie he was like that, and then he still looks like that to this day. If he's still, I don't think he's really in movies anymore, but he did the episode of Tales from the Crypt, where he also plays the photographer's girlfriend, I think. And the photographer falls in love with his girlfriend, so then he murders the photographer, buries him, and then the photographer comes back from the grave.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah, he plays that. He's always been that guy that's in those movies.
Was he in Hot Shots Part 2 as the one who's like, war, it's fantastic?
He may have been. It's been a while since I've seen Hot Shots Part 2. I do remember that movie, though.
It's weird that my brain went there first.
Remember Hot Shots when the guy's like, how did your dad die or something like that? He's like, oh, he was shot down in a plane, and it shows the plane going down. He brings his head up, and like the antlers come. Or he looks like he's wearing antlers. They think he's a moose.
He survived the crash, but a guy shot him.
Yep. Oh god,
that's the guy from Hot Shots Part 2.
There you go.
War. It's fantastic. No, that sounds fun.
He's the guy that's in everything.
Yeah, right? Night Flyer. I love it. All right, so dude, next one we have So I Married an Axe Murderer. I think we just said Election, right?
Oh, I'd love to do Election as well.
All right, that was fun. What's
also, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein is on Crackle.
Hey.
So if you want to watch that, it's on Crackle. If you want to watch The Night Flyer, it's on Amazon Prime.
Those are Tubi, Crackle. They're really underrated resources.
I mention that a lot to people, that they don't realize that those free sites are like, oh,
and Vudu.
Vudu's great. Oh,
tons of movies.
But people don't understand this. Like they're like, oh, well, there's commercials. Their commercials are like maybe once every 20 minutes or so. And it's only like 30 seconds. So you're watching an entire film for free, unedited, and you only got a few breaks here and there. It's not a big deal. I mean, to me, I don't really mind. And most of the movies that are on there, they're usually like from like 2015 and older. Yeah. So you're also seeing a lot of forgotten films, a lot of stuff that, you don't really care about. But there's a lot of forgotten films, a lot of great films. Yesterfear, this is play off of Yesteryear. That's a great app if you want to see old horror films that you have never heard of. Like there's a lot of horror films from the 1930s, 40s, and 50s that you would have never heard of. I've always wanted to see Bela Lugosi meets the Brooklyn Gorilla. So I finally got to see that on Yesterfear, which is arguably one of the worst films ever.
And also, Tubi have a lot of the Scream Shout Factory or Scream Factory.
Oh, yeah.
Screams, the Chopping Mall. All those kind of movies are on Tubi. So TUBITV.com. But you can watch a ton of free good stuff on there. And
they're all free. You can get them on any streaming source that you use.
So you know me, I have to write all these data posts for monsters and all this stuff. I check all those first. And then it's a great resource. It's been beautiful for me.
And they all link up to your search engine on your streaming service, like your Roku. Or even if you don't want to, you just want to check your phone real quick. If you look on your phone, they'll just pop up saying, this is streaming on Crackle, this is streaming on, and it shows you whichever one you want to do. That's how I got to see So I Married an Axe Murderer.
So good.
Which is on like every streaming service now.
All right, so we'll probably do that in a month or so?
Yeah, we can probably, I'll have to check my schedule, but probably about a month.
Sounds good. Well, thank you, man. So for me, Mark Hoffmeyer, for Chris Kelly, this is Movies, Films, and Flicks. We'll see you next week.
See you guys.